Yvonne, again, you're too good to me, but I always appreciate it. And it's
Molly,
true.
my question is still there.
I'm 5'3". Yes, Jesse, of course. So let's actually begin with that. Let me share my screen. And what I recommend for recordings is going to be to go to the Help Center or the Help tab and then the Support Center. Now, if you were to go, for instance, to videos about searching the MLS, these would be kind of short, and they're nice for that reason. I know a lot of times you want kind of quick information and to move on, but the longer recordings are going to be under the webinars link here. And these are about 15 to 20 minutes, and we rotate those topics out. So right now we have a recording about list track, a recording about CMA, and a recording about statistics, but in a few weeks, it will probably be different topics like listing alerts or something else. If you want a topic that is not here, I will have links to the last time that topic was recorded, so you could easily email me for those as well. Like if you wanted to see, if you went there today and your goal was to see information about listing alerts, you could shoot an email to either training@utahrealestate.com or my personal work email, which is molly@utahrealestate.com, and I'd get you that training as well.
Okay.
So really good question.
Yeah. I was thinking to get a little bit more trained on the real time. Remind, actually, Remind.
Oh, Remind, yes. Yeah, so Jesse, what I'll do when I send your certificate for being in class today, I will, I'll include a link to a Remind training for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, everybody, so this is kind of my introduction where I do talk a little bit about that. I want to make sure that not only are you taking advantage of the help section, but that you're also contacting our support team. We have a fantastic team available Monday to Friday, 8 to 5:30. Now, holidays are going to be an exception to these hours. So we actually were out of the office yesterday for Veterans Day, but we're back today with bells on, ready to help you. So please reach out by phone, email, or even live chat. You can also go to the trainings and classes link under the help section. That's where you can register for those one-on-one trainings and things of that nature. So keep an eye out. Oh, I got another request for the Remind information. So if anyone else wants that, go ahead and send a request in the chat and I'll make sure you get it. I'm just making a little list here on my paper, so we'll be good to go. Okay, so we also let you know about what we've been up to through MLS News. This is where we announce the topics of our Monday webinars and you can register from there. In fact, today, if you saw a news alert, a new one, that was referring to the fact that we'll be teaching about Remind on Monday for 20 minutes. So you can come to that live, or I will be sending out that link to the Remind training as well. So just pay attention to MLS News. This is where we let you know what we've been up to as a team. Specifically those changes in the MLS system that will affect the way you're doing business with the software. So watch for that. Now we have 4 partner products. Not only do we partner with Remind, so you can use that tool as part of your MLS membership, but we also have Showing Time for the MLS, we have List Track, we have Cloud CMA. Showing Time is a really simple link on your listings and the listings of others, and then buyer's agents can request a showing straight from the MLS. It's really fast, it's really slick, and you as the listing agent can be notified of that request by text message or by phone call or by email. It's really a slick way to manage the schedule. Then you have Remind, which is the ability to see property and property owner information in a bird's eye view. So there's a great example on the screen right now. It's kind of going through the different information you might find there. Remind is very visual. So I get to see the parcels in this neighborhood marked by a blue dot, and then I get to see how long the property has been owned, whether or not there is a mortgage associated with the property. If there is a mortgage, how long has that mortgage been active or open? So that would help me target people that no longer have a mortgage payment, or even those folks who are getting close to paying off their mortgage. I can see where the cash buyers are. There's a lot you can learn from Remind. I've gotten a lot of requests for the Remind training. So I think what I might do, everyone, is just include it in everybody's email, and you can watch it if that is a fit for you. You could also join us live on Monday for 20 minutes as well. So I'm glad everyone's interested in Remind. I think it's a really valuable tool.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Great question, and you're welcome. So list track is the ability to see how your listings are performing across the web. So when you enter your listing into the MLS, it's going to be seen on a ton of different websites, and list track is helping you understand how your marketing is paying off, where you're getting interest for the property. If there were days where you had a lot of views or not very many views, that can kind of let you know what's been working and what might not work as well when it comes to your marketing strategy. You can even see how your views compare to your competition, which is pretty cool. And then finally, you have Cloud CMA. And of course, Cloud CMA is where you can not only do the work of a CMA, but you can build a really nice CMA presentation. It's going to help you further your brand. It's going to help you communicate the importance of a CMA, a professional CMA, and it's going to help you to potentially win those listings. So watch out for those Monday webinars. We also will talk about Cloud CMA today in our CMA training, because I do think Cloud CMA really elevates the presentation of what you've discovered through the CMA process. So we'll be talking about that in some depth. But there are a lot of ways to learn about these tools. Okay, so as we discussed a little bit earlier, this is how you'll qualify for CE credit. Like any class, whether it's live in person, pre-recorded online, or kind of a blend like this, which is live and online, you'll need to be here for 90%, which means you're already doing great. If you're with us right now, just stay with us till the end and have your camera on. That's how we verify your attendance.
And their full name. I'm seeing cameras off and just one name in, and we have many names that are similar, so please put your full name in.
No.
Thanks, Molly.
Full name and have your camera on. If you're not here for CE and you just want the information, which is another great reason to be here, no need to fuss with these measures, but if you do want the CE, you'll need to have your camera on and your full name presented in your Zoom app. Then at the end of the course, I'm also going to ask that you send at least 4 of 5 code words I'm going to give throughout the course. So it's just one additional measure the Utah Division of Real Estate has asked us to use. I will be saying them aloud. So I'll say your code word is, I'll give you the code word, I'll repeat it a few times. And then you'll email those to me at molly@utahrealestate.com. So get a pen and paper if you don't already have one, and start writing that down. Again, these are the measures for CE. So if you're just here for the info, welcome. And you don't have to fuss with these kind of hoops. But if you want the CE, that's how you'll get it. So molly@utahrealestate.com. Okay, let's finally talk about CMAs. So we're here today to talk about the comparative market analysis, which is, of course, just the long term for CMA. Your CMA is the process you go through in order to price a property. Now, when you price a property, you're essentially predicting how that property might perform when you list it on the market. Now, you might be listing it today or tomorrow or a week from now, but whenever you list it, the price is going to be your best estimate for how the property is going to perform. You want a price that is appealing and competitive, but you also want a price that is specific to the needs of the client. For instance, you might have a client that needs to sell as soon as possible because they just got transferred in their job and they're leaving the state, and it's go time for them. So in that case, you would probably price a little bit low in order to entice someone to buy quickly. In the case of someone who doesn't care how long the property sits on the market. They don't want to miss a single dime. They might price kind of high. So you're essentially making this prediction about what the property might do and where the client might want that property to fall in the sort of appropriate ranges, if you will. So when you're doing a CMA, you're going to look for properties similar to your subject. You're going to look for properties nearby, and you're going to look for recent information. Now, I wish there was one perfect formula for all CMAs, but there just isn't. Every CMA is going to be different. And that's the main reason my suggestions here are so broad. I wish I could tell you exactly what to look for every single time and exactly how far or how near or far you should be looking for those comparable properties and how recently exactly they should have sold. Every CMA is going to be different. Sometimes you're going to have a lot of options to choose from, which means you get to be really specific. And other times it's going to be like pulling teeth to try to find those comps. So it's really dependent on the property you're pricing. If there could be a perfect CMA, you would find identical properties to the one you're pricing. By the way, the property you're pricing, I will call the subject throughout the class. So subject property will be the property you're pricing. In a perfect CMA, you'd find identical matches. They were built by the same builder and they have the same floor plan and the exact same upgrades and are in, the exact same condition as one another. They would all be literally immediately surrounding the property you're pricing, one to the north, one to the south, one to the east, one to the west, and they all would have sold yesterday. Now, you're never going to find even one comp that is that perfect. The goal is to get as close as you can. So when you're doing this process, you should be asking yourself, how close can I get to that? Knowing I'm going to have to walk it back and I'm not going to find those perfect matches. How close can I get? Now, this is the example we're going to use in class today. It is a multi-level home in Orem. It's at 505 West and 1160 North. It has 5 bedrooms, 2.75 bathrooms. It's almost 2,600 square feet, so it's a rather large home. It was built in 1990. It sits on 0.25 acres. It has a 2-car garage. These are the kinds of facts we're going to look for in similar homes. And again, if this were a perfect world, we would find properties with exactly these same kind of facts and they'd be in the same condition and so on. But our goal is to just get close. How close can we get? So let me move from the PowerPoint here over to the MLS system. And we're going to start our CMA under this section, CMA Create New. So this is where you can search for similar properties. However, this is just a personal preference. You can actually do every step I'm about to show you with any of our residential search pages. So if you prefer full or quick, please feel free to use that. Today we're going to use the CMA search form, but again, that's just a personal preference thing. Now we're starting with millions of records, and it's our job to find something like 10 good matches, or 3 or 7 or 12 or however many you can get your hands on. Our goal is to find just a few or a handful of properties. So we really have some work cut out for us here. That's where the option to populate this search page comes in. Now, this is just a simple step forward in the right direction. It's, of course, not going to automate the CMA. There is no way to automate CMAs. But it is going to give me a little bit of a leg up. Now I can only use this if the last time this property was listed in the MLS is still a good representation of the property as it is today. If that's the case, then I'm in a lucky position and I get to use populate form. If I can't use populate form, maybe the property's never been listed in the MLS before, or the last time it was listed, the basement wasn't finished and now it is, or you know, they enclosed a carport into a garage or something else like that. In those situations, I would simply start my search for comparable properties by hand. Maybe I stick to the same city as the subject. Maybe from there I start to choose some statuses and so on. If I do have the opportunity to use populate form, I can enter the last MLS number ever assigned to the property, which in this case is 1531264. And when I hit go, it's going to take me from those millions of potential records down to 631. Now, again, this isn't automating the job. CMAs can't be automated. That's why the online valuation models on the various websites that try to tell your clients what their property is worth are at best a guess. You can't automate the process, but it did do a little bit of work for us. For instance, it's searching in the same zip code as our subject property. It's searching for the same property type and style. It's searching for properties built no older than 5 years older and no newer than 5 years newer than my subject property. So it basically gave me a starting point in my search, and now it's up to me to take these 631 matches and continue to narrow them down until I get to the better matches I'm really going for. Now, your first code word, everybody, is ginger. The delicious plant. I love ginger flavor. I like ginger candy. I like the ginger they give you when you go to sushi restaurants. Your first code word is ginger. Okay, so from here, I'm going to continue narrowing down my search criteria. So I'm currently looking in the same zip code, property type and style. You know, the square footage range is 15% off of one side, 15% on the other, and then that gives me my range. I could certainly tighten this up a little bit. I'm actually going to get more specific with beds and baths because my range is pretty big here. I think for bathrooms, I'll do a total of 4, or excuse me, a maximum of 4 and a minimum of 2 because my subject has 2.75. And then for bedrooms, I might just tighten this up a little bit further to be from 4 to 6 instead of 3 to 7 because my subject has 5. So already I'm just getting a little closer to properties that are more similar. Let's also choose a status. When you're doing a CMA, sold status is incredibly valuable. You'll rely on sold status a lot. When a listing is marked as sold in the MLS, that's when we know everything there is to know about the transaction. We know what the property sold for. We know the terms of the sale. We know if there were concessions on the sale. We know, we know how long it took to sell. There's a lot that we learn from sold status. I do know some agents that like to include multiple statuses. For instance, under contract, backup, and active. These might be a good example of what your competition looks like. I know agents that swear by using expired status in order to provide kind of a cautionary tale about overpricing to their clients. I want to show you that the MLS system will allow you to consider those statuses separately in the next step. So we're going to include multiple statuses so I can show you an example of that. But if you swear by only using sold, I am not here to tell you not to do that. That's a decision you'll make on your own as an agent, whether you want to include more than one status. But if you do include more than one status, you don't have to do multiple CMAs. The system will allow you to consider active status comps separately from sold status comps and so on. Now I'm already down to just 17. So I do want to get more specific with my time frame because my sold date is all the way back a year and we've had such an unpredictable year. I really feel that more recent information than 12 months ago would be appropriate. So maybe I'll do something like 6 months. So I put in 180 days. Thankfully, that only shaved off about 3 matches. So that's not too bad. I might be able to get away with an even shorter time frame, maybe like 120 days. Let's see what that leaves me with. 11 matches. I'm going to get more specific with my location. And if we don't end up with enough, I could always, you know, massage some of my other search criteria to get a good number or a comfortable number of comparable properties. But let's go ahead and use our map. Right now, I'm searching an entire zip code. By the way, the map does remember the MLS number I already said was my subject property. So this is going to allow me to jump straight there. That saves me a lot of hassle. But if you weren't able to use populate form, remember if the property's never been listed in the MLS before, or the former MLS number is for a property that is too different from the way the property is today, you can still use that tool. You'll just simply hit the arrow here to jump to property, and then you can put in the address of the property or the tax ID of the property. But I'm currently searching an entire zip code. So if I zoom out a little bit and I layer my zip codes on the map, so I'm just using these map layers at the top, look how large that area is. So my 11 or so matches could be coming from the other side of I-15. They could be in all sorts of locations that probably aren't very comparable to the one I'm working in. So rather than using zip code, I'm going to use one of our 4 draw tools, or maybe even multiple draw tools, to find the properties I want to work with. So let's start with the radius. This is really common in CMAs. I could do this option that allows me to set the radius. I find it a little bit easier to click on the map and drag out. So I used a double click, and then my radius estimates about how large it is. So I'm aiming for about 1 mile. And here's my results. So I can see here I have 3 matches on the same side of State Street that my subject property is, and on the same side of 800 North. So I have some options here. I can move forward with all 9 of these listings, and then, you know, continue to maybe narrow some things down. I could get more specific with my location search. So for instance, I might choose to use my point click polygon tool. And I'm going to start about here and kind of make my way around to kind of keep the same location as the radius. But now I'm going to hug State Street. And I'm also going to hug 800 North. Now, all I'm doing is using a single click to create a corner. When I'm done, I'll double click. Now, instead of choosing to use the entire radius, I can remove the radius and simply use the, oops, I removed the wrong one. Sorry, everybody. And simply use the shape that I've created instead. So that gives me some options as well.
Molly?
Yes.
What are the colors?
Great question. So red is going to be sold, yellow is under contract. If you see orange, that's a backup property, but I don't see any of those right now. And then if you see green, that would be active. In fact, there's the little legend at the bottom there. Okay, folks, let's hope I get the right one this time. There we go. Okay, so that, now I just have the 3 properties. Maybe I hide my map and I go back a little bit further in time to 180 days. That gives me 5 matches. It's really up to you what you want to prioritize in your search criteria. I wish I would probably try to find at least 3 comps, at least 3 properties that you can compare your subject to. That's not always a perfect scenario, but that's what I would aim for. Certainly more than 3 is going to be ideal, but your main job is to find the closest possible matches. So if adding more than 3 means you're including properties that really aren't a great match, then maybe 3 is a stronger option. Those kinds of decisions are entirely up to you. Your goal is to find the kind of properties you feel good about putting your name behind and calling comps. Let me give you your second code word, which is beetle, like the little gross insect. Especially when they're big, those ones really bother me. Your second code word is beetle. Now, my roommate actually just left and his dog likes to bark when he's gone. So give me 2 seconds to put his dog where he'll be comfortable and quiet. And I'll be right back. I'm sorry, everybody. Just one moment.
I'd say she's worth waiting for, don't you guys? It's so good to see all of you on. I'm starting to even recognize some of you that aren't with Presidio, and I love having you on that are not here. Well, I love our Presidio agents. They know that.
Some are already enough familiar with CMA, they don't need it. They're not like me.
Now, Presidio agents know that this class is being recorded and it will be put on the back end of our website for you to go to and look at also. And she's done a lot of our classes already and they are on the back end. But I love that she's told us where we can go find them on the website. Thank you, Ron, for shaking your head. Oh, thumbs up even.
Okay, everyone, sorry about that. He likes to get excited about every little thing that goes on outside the window. So I knew that was going to be a problem if I let him stay. Okay, so we currently have 5 matches, but we might have to make some
Hey, Molly,
changes to the search criteria.
Molly, how you clear the map?
How do I?
didn't.
So if we go to the map, we can clear the entire map by hitting clear area selection. That would get rid of everything we've drawn. Or you would hit the blue X to remove a single area that you've drawn.
Now, how to exit out the map, you know, so when the search is done.
Out of it. You would just select hide map in the upper right.
Oh, okay. It was too quick, I couldn't understand.
Oh, that's fine. That's just fine. So I'm going to move forward with these 5 matches. And from here, we can simply start to get to know these listings a little bit and make decisions about whether or not they are a good match for our subject. They all match our search criteria, but they might not be, they might not all be strong comparisons. For instance, maybe all of these properties have roughly 2,500 square feet, but I come to find out that some of these properties don't have basements and all of that 2,500 square feet is above grade. Well, my subject property has a basement, so it doesn't have 2,500 square feet above grade, and that might influence what I choose as a comp. So in other words, it can still match your search criteria and not quite be as strong of a match as maybe some of your other options. So you'll need to go through your search results and you'll want to qualify them. Now you can do this under the agent full report, and there's a lot of ways to get there. Now the agent full report, of course, is where we include all the information about the property that we at the MLS know. So it might be information entered by the listing agent. Most information about a listing comes from there. But we also do things like track how long it's on the market and things of that nature. So anything we know about the property, we're going to display in the agent full report. So that's one way to look at them in the agent full report, but you could also click on the MLS number of a search result. That pulled up the agent full report in a pop-up window. So that's a different way to get there. Or you can choose my favorite method, which is to actually go to the next step, which is the CMA report. And once in the CMA report, you can look at the agent full report from there. So if we go to the CMA report, don't worry, I will come back to this option in just a second. But if we go to the CMA report, I'm going to need to enter my subject property in the blue column, and then the comps will be in the gray columns. So if I need to get to know these listings and decide whether or not I want to include them as comps, I'm going to click on the MLS number, and there we go again. There's the agent full report in the pop-up window. So what I'm dealing with right now is the work of making sure these are in fact good comps. You might be lucky and have all 5 of your matches be tremendous comps. You might find that none of them are very good comps. Or the more likely scenario is that some of them are really strong or strong enough, and some of them are less strong. They're not very good matches. So if you find something that you don't want to keep as a comparable, you would simply hit remove. Watch my selected listings when I hit remove. It is going to no longer include that property. It still matches my search criteria. It just is no longer, I'm no longer using it as a comp in the CMA report. Now, in the blue column, I need to start filling out the information about my subject property, because here in the CMA report, I'm here to compare the facts of my subject property to the facts of my chosen comparables. So I need to fill out those facts. My subject has 5 bedrooms. It has 2 full bathrooms and 1 3/4 bath. Or once again, I can use the populate option. So we used this on the search page, and it's also available on the CMA report. So once again, I can enter the MLS number, the former MLS number of my subject. I can hit go, and that's going to fill out my subject property details. Again, this is not a necessary step, it's just a helpful one. Now, I want to take a moment to show you how I actually found this former MLS number, because I believe the easiest and fastest way is going to be through the tax data search. So this is tax data search. Now, you might have caught on there, I just used new tab. New tab is the ability to open a second tab and do something else in the MLS system while still maintaining what I was originally working on, which in this case is a CMA, but I'm going to take my second tab over to tax data search. Now from here, I just need to enter something pretty basic. The county of the subject will help a lot. Whoops, not Uinta, I need Utah. The county of the subject. And from there, something simple like the name of the owner or the name of the street. I think I'll use house number. And now I'm simply looking through this list for 505, what is it? 505 West, 1160 North. There it is, kind of close to the top there. Once I click on the tax ID, in the upper right-hand corner is a drop-down that has every MLS number ever assigned to this property. Now, in this case, that's 2. It could be 15. It totally depends on the property. It could be 0. In fact, if the property's never been listed in the MLS before, you won't see this MLS number drop down at all. But where we do, the top number is the most recent. So I can simply click on that. It's going to take me to that recent MLS listing. In this case, it was sold in 2018, so it's about 2 years old at this point. And from here, I can just make sure that it's still similar enough. If my seller hasn't made major changes, or that former agent that listed it 2 years ago, if they haven't, made a major typo or something like that, then I can use those populate options. If the property has changed or that listing has misinformation, I would not want to rely on it. So those are kind of the steps. You'll go to tax data search, you'll pull in some really basic information, and then that MLS number will drop down, will be in the upper right-hand corner. I'm going to start getting rid of some of my tabs here before it starts to gum up my internet connection too badly. So now we take the facts of our subject property, okay, and we compare those same facts to our chosen comps. So we're going to compare the same features, one for one and like for like. And here's why we're doing that. I have 2 sold comps. My comp 1 is sold, my comp 2 is sold, comp 3 is currently under contract. My first comp did sell for $360, my second for $440, and my third is under contract. Excuse me, it was listed at $429.9, okay, when it went under contract. Now the question is, what might these properties have sold for or be listed at in the case of our under contract comp? What might they have sold for if they were a little more like our subject property? They're not identical, but we want to get as close as we can. So we're going to take the actual sales price or list price and make small adjustments to it in order to reflect what it might be if it was more identical to the subject. So bear with me, let's stick with bedrooms for a minute. My subject has 5 bedrooms. Well, so does my first, second, and my third comp. They also have 5 bedrooms. So as far as number of bedrooms is concerned, that's an exact match, and we can just move on to the next detail, which is full bathrooms. But let's scroll down to the bottom. Oh, darn it, this property also has 5 bedrooms. I'm gonna do a little cheat here, and I'm going to use edit comp mode. Now you will only use this feature if the listing agent made some kind of mistake on the listing itself. So if my first comp actually had 4 bedrooms and not 5, I could adjust that. But if you find a problem like that, please let us know. If you're more comfortable reaching straight out to the listing agent, that's fine. But just let us know and we can get it corrected. The reason we include edit comp mode is because you don't have the luxury of waiting 3 or 4 days until the listing agent responds and corrects the mistake. You need to do your CMA today. So it's totally fine to use edit comp mode. I'm using it as a little bit of a cheat as an instructor, okay? So you won't use it for the same reasons I do. But watch what happens when I make that change. If my first comp has 4 bedrooms, my system does not recognize that as an exact match. We need to make an adjustment. So it did sell for $360, but it sold as a 4-bedroom property. And it likely would have sold for something a little bit differently if it had 5 bedrooms, the way my subject property has 5 bedrooms. So it adds this, this rate in place of that bedroom, okay? Now, if my comp had 6 bedrooms and my subject only had 5, it would do the same thing, except it would remove that additional bedroom or the value I've assigned to that additional bedroom at this rate. Now these rates off to the right-hand side here, these are known as the system default, okay? System default. They're just a starting point. They're not perfect, nor is there a set of numbers that would be perfect. And before I dive a little farther into these adjustment figures, why don't I give you your third code word, which is soda. Soda, like a Coke, a Diet Coke, a Sprite, root beer. Your third code word is soda. Now, the comps are being adjusted for how they're different from the subject through these figures here. So these are the figures assigned to a bedroom. This is the figure assigned to a full bath. But again, these are just a starting point. They're the default, but they're just a starting point. For instance, if I were dealing with 4 and 5 and 6 bedroom homes the way I am today, I probably would not assign as much value to the 4th or the 5th or the 6th bedroom as I would if I were pricing 1 or 2 bedroom condos. The 2nd bedroom is going to appeal a lot more and be worth a lot more money to most buyers than a 6th bedroom. So there really isn't a set of numbers that will represent everything you come across, but luckily the system lets you change these on the fly. So if I needed to put a different number in here and say a buyer would pay $2,000 instead of $1,000 for that additional bedroom, I can make that adjustment on the fly, and that will be done throughout the system. Fortunately for us, all of our comps are a perfect match as far as number of bedrooms is concerned. This particular comp has an additional full bath that my subject property does not have. So it actually removes that amount from the sales total. So the amount starts here and it gets removed. But then my subject has a 3/4 bath that my second comp does not. And so then the value of the 3/4 bath gets added. So you take the actual sales price, adjust it for how it's different from your subject, and then you get an adjusted total at the bottom. Now these adjusted totals become the subject range, which is in the lower left corner here. Okay, and the subject range is where the statuses of the comps are separated. So remember earlier when I said you don't have to exclude a status in your search to exclude it later. Okay, this is what I meant when you can consider those separately. So my under contract comps are adjusted for how they're different from my subject, then averaged together to become this number. The same is true of my sold comps. And then finally I have total. So this is the adjusted value averaged together of all my chosen comps regardless of their status. So I can put more weight behind the 380 number than I do behind the 378, for instance. Now, if you are not sure if you should change these numbers or what to change them to, I want to give you a few resources to think about. First of all, you have these statistics tools right here in the MLS. Maybe I use the market summary report, which gives me a really nice look at median and average sold price. And I search this neighborhood for 3-bedroom properties, and then I search this neighborhood for 4-bedroom properties. Or excuse me, this property has 5 bedrooms. So I might do a search for 4 and a search for 5, and I might just see how it changes the median sold price or the average sold price. So you can leverage the data already inside the MLS to learn about the markets you're working in. Another resource is from the NAR. It's called the Remodeling Impact Report. It's really easy to find. You can just Google it, Remodeling Impact Report. You can also find it by Googling NAR Return on Investment Report. And what they do is every 2 years, they report on what buyers are paying for certain features nationwide. So the report might say something to the effect of, for sellers that have a new roof, a buyer is willing to pay 50% of what that seller spent on that new roof, or 99%, or 0.275. There's a lot of variation depending on the feature, of course. But that can be really helpful to understand the value of that to a buyer and then help you to make those adjustments. Finally, there is a local Facebook group called Ask the Appraiser. I'm going to include a link to both the Facebook group and the NAR report in your certificates as well, so you can access those really easily. But that local Facebook group is just full of local realtors and appraisers having conversations about exactly these topics. So that's another really great resource. So I'll include both of those in your email when I send out your certificates. Now, if you need to make an adjustment for something unusual, maybe for solar panels or a pool or something that is not included in these basic adjustments of beds, baths, square footage, and garage capacity, and so on, you can go to More Actions and then Edit Adjustment Factors. And this is where you could add a custom factor. You'll give it a name, you'll give it a value. Again, that value should reflect what a buyer might be willing to pay for such a feature. And then you'll give it a name. And at any time, you can actually bring that in from your drop down here in the CMA report. So we're in the CMA report to adjust or account for the fact that our comps are not identical to our subject. But the closer they are, just like all of our examples today had exactly the same number of bedrooms as our comps. That doesn't often happen, by the way, or as our subject, excuse me. those are pretty good matches as far as number of bedrooms is concerned. So the closer our comps are to our subject, the less these numbers will even matter, okay? The less they come into play. Now, don't forget to save your work. That, of course, is critical. CMAs are tough jobs, so you don't want to lose the work you've done. So make sure you save your CMA. You can open a saved CMA anytime under the CMA tab in saved CMAs.
Molly, I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
When we comparing bedroom and kitchen, they can be various in the appliances and countertops and cabinet and custom work, where that going to be adjusted, because compared to somebody have a granite countertop to mica countertop is a huge difference. As somebody have a basic appliances, somebody have a $50,000 appliances.
Yes, so that's where you would create one of those custom factors. So you would create, you go to edit adjustment factors under more actions, and you would create a custom factor.
Okay.
So that's how you would account for those in the system. So I don't recommend placing adjustment figures for every feature. For instance, I did have an agent who came to me and they had done a line item for everything. New paint, new carpet, new, and really those things are costly to the person who paid for them. But a lot of times a buyer is not going to pay more for them. Now, I'm not saying the same thing about granite countertops or, you know, really nice appliances. I'm just saying not every feature is worth what was paid, what it cost. And so, or worth to a buyer what it cost. So that's where some of those resources I talked about would be really helpful in determining whether you should assign, you know, make an adjustment for that or not, and what that adjustment might be. So I'll include those resources in the email. But yeah, for those other items, I would create a custom factor. So when you're done with your CMA, you'll need to create a presentation because you've got to communicate these findings, this information to your client. You can do that with Create CMA Packet, or you can do it with Cloud CMA. Now, I recommend Cloud CMA because it's included in your MLS membership. I'll say that again, Cloud CMA is included. So everything I show you in Cloud CMA for the remainder of our class, you can do, and you'll have access to, and you won't have to pay anything extra for it, okay? Now let me give you, before we open Cloud CMA, let me give you your fourth code word, which is keyboard. Okay, you might type on your keyboard. You might have one in front of you right now. Your fourth code word is keyboard. So the MLS CMA packet is really basic. I know some people who really love a few of those pages. You can turn pages from the CMA packet into a PDF, and you could add those pages to a Cloud CMA presentation. So there are ways to kind of combine the two if you wanted to do that. But let's go to Cloud CMA. Everyone in our class today has a Cloud CMA account, okay? So because you use our MLS, you'll be able to do exactly what I'm doing. And of course, it's been doing this to me the last several times I've taught it. It doesn't want to open the first time, but if I refresh it, it does. I don't know if I need to clear my cache or what would help it, but. Okay, so step one of a Cloud CMA is a lot of a repeat of work we've already done. Now you can skip the MLS tools altogether and use Cloud CMA to do your CMA from start to finish. You can skip Cloud CMA and not use it for your presentation and just use the MLS tools. Or you can do kind of a combination approach, which is what I like to do. I like to use the MLS for searching for comps, for comparing comps, and then I use Cloud CMA for presentation. But you can really mix and match these steps any way you want. We already did our search. In fact, that's why my 4 chosen comps are already listed for me. If I didn't use the MLS to search, I would be forced to use Cloud CMA's search option, which they themselves have named Quick and Dirty. quite literally meaning it's a very broad search and you would have to really dig through the results to find good comparisons. So I recommend using the MLS to do your search if nothing else, and then you want to do the rest in Cloud CMA. That would be my recommendation. But we already did the search, so we're just going to do a really basic labeling of our CMA report. So I'm giving it the name of my client and then the address of my subject property. And notice it tried to bring in some tax data, but it really didn't bring in a lot. So I might need to fill out details like 5 bedrooms, what was it? Almost 2,600 square feet, 2.75 baths, and so on. And now I'm just hitting next. This is going to take me to the next step, which is the listings step. This is where you would do work very similar to the CMA report. And again, if you prefer Cloud CMA's tool, and it's here for you. It's a really great way to do this. You can look at the details and adjustments right here. Okay, so you can look at the details of the comps. You could even remove a comp if you decided not to use it by just deselecting that checkbox. And you can make adjustments down here at the bottom of each of the comps. So it's very similar to the CMA report. By the way, if you needed to do a CMA on a multi-unit property, or land or farm or anything other than residential properties, the CMA report is currently only for residential properties. So you would not have an option to use the CMA report for multi-unit CMA. So my recommendation would be search for comps in the MLS, then use this second step of Cloud CMA to make your comparisons, okay? Now, we already did this work in the MLS, so I'm actually just going to set a price. You'll probably base this on what the MLS results were. So I might, suggest to the client a range. I love that I get to decide exactly the number that gets printed and seen by the client. Again, this is just kind of an idea. You're getting an idea of what you would do here. Our results, if anybody randomly is actually needing to list this property, I would not rely on the results we got today because we didn't actually qualify the properties we chose to compare to our subject. A really crucial step that we don't have the luxury of doing in class. Okay, so this is why I'm here in Cloud CMA for this third step. This is where I'm going to create a really nice presentation that makes me look good, that helps my client understand the work I did for them and the importance of this work and why they need a professional like me to list their property, okay? So start with your theme. Choose the color scheme of your brokerage or your team. I just choose blue and black because it's kind of MLS colors, but obviously you'll choose the color that will further your branding. You can see there's a tremendous number to work with. They also have classic designs. The only difference is the classic are the design that Cloud CMA created like 12 years ago, and the modern themes were created about a year ago. But they both look really good, so choose your preference. Layout is how you want the comps to be seen. You have 6 options here. Do you want a whole lot of details for every one of your chosen comps, or do you want them all on 1 page or 2 pages, depending on the number that you've chosen? You can also choose a font. So again, you'll choose the font that corresponds to your branding. You can add a cover if you want, but honestly, the Cloud CMA title page is really nice looking. If you were to click on Cloud CMA's cover options, I think they, yeah, see, it's a power pack they're going to want you to upgrade. Don't worry about that. Don't fuss with that at all. Use the one already included, or if you have something already designed that you like, upload that as a PDF. Go to your account settings in the upper right-hand corner and upload it under custom pages. And then it's done for you. If it's something you already designed or you've had designed for you or something you use within the brokerage, just upload it. It's really easy. Now, to see what a page looks like, you can simply click on the name of it. Pages specific to you and your business, like our company, agent resume, and so on. Cloud CMA doesn't have those until you give it to them. So you'll want to edit those pages. Okay, so this edit option, Fortunately, if I edit the agent resume today and next week I do a CMA on a horse property in South Jordan instead of the residential property in Orem that we did today, it will be the updated agent resume if I include it. So Cloud CMA does a good job of not making me reinvent the wheel. Now you can rearrange the order of the pages. You can remove pages, which you'll probably do. I mean, look how long this is. It's kind of long, it's kind of fluffy. You can remove pages. You can add any page under the standard section. Again, don't spend your money on the power packs. You don't need them. There's such great content in the standard CMA. And then finally, when you're done building that report, turn it into a template so that the next time you do a CMA, you have that template to rely on. In fact, I recommend having maybe 3 templates that you've created. One that's really short and sweet and straight to the point. One that's really long for those clients that are going to want to sit with those details and chew on them for a few days. And then maybe something for the more average client, kind of something in between. So you can create a template. Now, if we hit the next button again, just as quickly as that, we've created a really nice presentation, and it comes in 3 formats. I can use 1, I can use 2, I can use all 3. And they are the PDF version, the live version. Live is kind of like a more interactive slideshow. It would be really good if you had a client that wanted to meet with you virtually because of what's going on right now. Or you can use the slideshow. Now the slideshow is made to look really good on your tablet. So you can take your tablet to the client, give them this digital experience. And again, it all helps you to look really good in front of the client. And see how it's the blue and black colors that I chose. It's bringing in all the photos of the listings. It's just a really slick way to present what you found. Then you have the live version, and this is, again, like a more interactive slideshow. Maybe I'm talking to my client about what a CMA is, and then they say, oh, you know what? Such and such website said my house was worth X, Y, and Z. Well, you can skip really easily to the online valuations page, which explains to the client that in their neighborhood, the Zillow's estimates were up to $18,000 wrong. This is pretty cool. What they do is they take the Zillow's estimate and they compare it to the actual sales price of those properties, the sales price from the MLS, and they show the client just how different that is. So it's all about driving home the need for that professional CMA. Then they say, oh, well, my neighbor's house just sold for, whatever their neighbor's house sold for. And then you switch over to the comps section and you say, you know what, your neighbor's house is pretty similar to yours, and I included it as a comp. Or your neighbor's house is really different. I went with these 4 properties instead. So it's just a really interactive, cool slideshow. You can draw on it to call things out and call attention. It's just pretty cool. And then finally, you have that paper version. This is what Cloud CMA is known for. Again, it's printable. You can email it. There's a lot of things you can do with it. Now, folks, your 5th code word is November, the month of November. Remember, I only need 4 of those. Please email them to my email, which is molly@utahrealestate.com. I saw that Yvonne sent that email address in the chat, so that should be pretty easy for you. I'm also going to put it on screen here so you can see that right here at the end. And if you've never used Cloud CMA, I hope you'll start using it. I really think it's going to improve how you communicate the work you've done for the client. Yvonne, do we want to spend a little time on questions, do you think?
Let's tell people that if they need to go, fine. But if you can stay and ask questions, now is a good time. Molly, do you have time to do that?
I do, yeah.
Okay, ask away, people. Thank you, Molly. It was fantastic, as usual. I keep learning every time I watch this class. Something else pops out, and I will use that now.
Well, you're good to me. Go ahead and send questions in the chat, or just unmute yourself and shout out. Either way is totally fine.
So I do have a question on the reports. Can you send the client, I know that sometimes it's interactive and you want to be able to show them and have that conversation, but is there a situation where you would just want to email them the report or any part of the report?
Yeah, so that is pretty easy to do actually. So if we move over back to cloud here. Oh gosh, now I've messed up my sharing. There we go. Okay, so this is the report we just created. Mine get a little bit hard to differentiate between because they're all just examples, but you'll have the name of your client here and the address that they're at. And then these 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner allow you to email the report or even copy links to those more interactive things like the slideshow. So it's a pretty easy thing to do in order to share that information. Did that answer your question, Mary?
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you, Molly.
You're welcome. I got a really nice comment from Ron. Thanks, Ron. Oh, excellent. Another person interested in Remind. I love hearing that. I'll make sure you all get a copy of that webinar. And then if you want to join us live on Monday, you can register either in news. So that's the latest webinar we're going to be doing, or you could even register for the same thing under trainings and classes. You'll find it in both places. But I'll make sure you get a recording because I know not everybody's going to be able to join us live. So I'll make sure everyone gets one.
What time are the webinars on Monday?
10 o'clock, and especially because, so it's been just a really big adjustment for the team to move everything online, although it's also opened up avenues we didn't have before. So I'm hoping to add to that schedule and to do those shorter kind of straight to the point webinars a little more frequently. But for right now, it's Mondays at 10 o'clock and we wrap up by 10:20.
And are those recorded so we can, if we can't make that meeting or
Yeah.
can
Yes,
watch?
you'll find the recordings in, my Zoom controls keep getting in my way, in the support center under the webinars section. So there's some recent recordings there. And because we rotate those out, that's why I don't have a Remind recording in there, but I'll get you a recording through your email. And if you joined us and aren't getting CE credit, then I'll make sure you get those links as well. So everyone will get the link. Other questions or comments? I know everybody's time is valuable, so sometimes it's hard for me to walk the line between, I want to be available and not cut anybody off, but I don't want to waste anybody's time either, so.
I also will send Molly a list of everyone that was on. There was one person that I don't know who his last name is. He never would put it in, and it wasn't one of our people. And if you didn't have your video on, I let her know that because there's no way to know if you are engaged. So just know I'm just following the rules. Don't shoot the messenger here.
I know it stinks. Guys, it's a lot easier to earn CE credit in person. I'm telling you. I virtually never had to, restrict someone earning CE credit in person. Maybe if someone was out on a phone call for like 30 minutes or something. But these days, there's almost always at least like one person in a class that doesn't earn the credit. It's just different. So we're all doing our best and jumping through these hoops. So we appreciate you, Yvonne, because it helps me keep track of who's earned it per the Division of Real Estate's requests. So,
well, we're in this together to follow the rules and learn as much as we can so we can be amazing agents and help our clients.
Exactly.